The Battle of Ulqin, also known as the Battle of Dulcigno in the international community, was a battle between the Ottoman forces of Dervish Pasha against Albanian guerrilla fighters of the League of Prizren on November 22, 1880, for ultimate control of the city and port of Ulqin. Following the Russo-Turkish War and the subsequent Treaty of Berlin in 1878, the Principality of Montenegro agreed to territorial exchanges with the Ottoman Empire. The formation of the League of Prizren had its beginnings during the Lidhja period in the 19th century, a national ethnic awakening that propelled many Albanians from every corner of the Balkans to seek and create a unified state, albeit within the Ottoman Empire. After the Treaty of Berlin, many Albanian lands were partitioned to neighboring powers, which fueled the League to pursue any measure necessary to bring Albanian-speaking lands together. Regarding our story here, the exchange in question that led to the Battle of Ulqin was the transfer of the regions of Hoti and Gruda from Montenegro to the Ottomans in exchange for Ulqin. While the Porte officially did not oppose this decision, it asserted that the Albanians would offer a staunch resistance to this policy, as it would separate them from the vilayet of Shkodra and isolate them in a land that was predominantly Slavic and Orthodox Christian. The Ottomans initially sought to postpone the secession of Ulqin to Montenegro, hoping to avoid it altogether. However, the great powers, consisting of Great Britain, France, Germany, Italy, and the Empire of Austria-Hungary, unwilling to tolerate any delay, threatened the use of force against the Ottomans if they did not capitulate and agree to their end of the bargain. Fearful of the consequences imposed by the great powers, the Ottomans dispatched Riza Pasha with 3,000 soldiers to Shkodra to crush the League of Prizren. Issuing warnings of severe consequences for anyone opposing him, Riza Pasha implemented a total siege, completely isolating Shkodra and the surrounding lands to choke the Albanians of Ulqin into submission. Positioned in Krai, at the mountains of Mojura, 2,000 Albanians commanded by Muftar Agareci were successful in engaging the enemy with scattered skirmishes and disrupting the supply lines and wagon trains of Riza Pasha's forces, temporarily lifting the siege. In response, the great powers granted Riza Pasha a 3-day ultimatum to surrender the city to Montenegro. Despite the presence of 6,000 Ottoman soldiers in the city, their attempts to advance were effectively impeded. The great powers, upon learning that Riza Pasha had failed to besiege Ulqin, deployed a naval armada led by Lord Admiral Frederick Beauchamp Seymour, 1st Baron of Ulster, and consisting of English, French, German, Russian, Italian, and Austro-Hungarian forces along the coast of Dalmatia and Montenegro to ensure the successful transfer of Ulqin to Montenegro. Surprisingly, this united and formidable display of naval power did not intimidate the Albanians of Ulqin, and they continued on with their resistance. In response to the challenges encountered, Riza Pasha was relieved of his duties, and the Ottomans appointed Dervish Pasha, the former Wali of the Vilayet of Salonika, as the new Wali of Shkodra, and tasked him to bring the Albanians to heel and deliver the city to Montenegro. On November 1st, 1880, Dervish Pasha, accompanied by 1,300 Ottoman infantry arriving by ship, attempted to take Ulqin by sea. However, he received staunch resistance posed by Albanian guerrilla fighters stationed at Ulqin's citadel, and was forced to take different measures. Upon his arrival on land, Dervish Pasha issued an ultimatum to the irregulars who were refusing to surrender Ulqin. 800 Ulqinaks, along with volunteers from Tuzi, Shkodra, Tetovo, Shkreli, Dibra, Kelmendi, Prizren, Jakova, and other Albanian cities. The ultimatum yielded no results. British and Hungarian consultants in Shkodra negotiated an agreement with Dervish Pasha that will allow him to persuade the Albanians to surrender the city, proposing safe passage to leave the city and settle within the empire. After 3 days of unsuccessful bargaining, Dervish Pasha ordered his army to march into the city. On November 22, 1880, Ottoman forces under his command crossed the Bojana River near the village of Klesna. They encountered a small unit of Albanian irregulars encamped near the lake of Shas, initiating a skirmish where both sides exchanged gunfire. During the night, Albanian irregulars received reinforcements of 500 men and continued to battle until they were forced to retreat. The decisive clash between the Albanians and the Ottomans occurred at Kodra e Koç, outside the city of Ulqin. Led by Isuf Sokoli, Haji Mehmet Beci, and Mehmet Gjuli, the Albanians prevailed against the first wave of Ottoman attack. However, with the arrival of additional Turkish forces, eventually led to their retreat and inevitable defeat. Commander of Ulqini's militia, Isuf Sokoli, was wounded and later succumbed to his injuries on the same day, along with many other Albanians who courageously sacrificed themselves against the world superpower. On November 23, 1880, the Ottomans continued their march into the city, ultimately surrendering it to the Montenegrin army. The official handover marked the culmination of a 30-month-long negotiation process involving the great European powers. The local population, in a strange brew of elation, confusion, and anger, took to the streets to witness the Montenegrin army receive the command of the city. On the quote-unquote Day of Liberation, Montenegrin voivode Bojo Petrović received a welcome from city leaders and assured them that there will be peace. Petrović demanded the organization of a city assembly and court, appointing Voivode Simo Popović as its first mayor, thus beginning Ulqin's new reality of being subjects of the Montenegrin crown. The relinquishment of Ulqin to Montenegro intensified the resentment of the Albanian population towards Ottoman policies and eventually towards the Montenegrins, especially after the influx and implantation of Montenegro nationals into the city and the displacement of many Albanians out of the region in the process. Ulqin would remain under Montenegrin control until 1916, when the Kingdom of Montenegro would be absorbed into the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes, and subsequently the Kingdom of Yugoslavia. Ulqin would briefly unite with the Albanian state under the Italian crown between 1941 to 1944 under the leadership of Zafo Beg Ulqini, and would unfortunately be returned to the newly formed Communist Yugoslavia as World War II ended. Ulqin still proudly boasts a majority Albanian population and is a beacon for Albanian tourists from all over the Balkans and the world during the summer months. This battle was a pivotal moment in Ulqin's history. It saw the city be thrust onto the world stage and allowed the international community to know that it is and will remain an Albanian-speaking city.